All right, what's going on, sports fans? Welcome to the second episode of Sports Talk of the 2018 spring semester. I'm Nicolo Manzo, and wow, what a week. What a week to be an Eagles fan. What a week, really, just to be a football fan in general, because we were treated to really a truly incredible Super Bowl 52 this week. What more can you say about the game? I mean, 41-33, the Eagles captured their first ever Super Bowl championship, and that in itself is quite the story. I mean, the game was absolutely just an incredible game, nail-biter, back and forth the whole way. The two teams trading shot after shot. We had a few dramatic moments in the game, a few controversial calls, which in the NFL anymore was not a controversy, especially when it comes to a catch. I don't think anybody knows what a catch is anymore, but all that aside, fly Eagles fly, and as I said last week, I am an Eagles fan, so this one was special for me. It was really exciting, but as I said too before, I respect the Patriots a lot, and it took everything the Eagles had to defeat them. I don't think anybody would have projected that the game play out the way that it did, because really, which I'll get into a little bit later in the recap and outcomes and stuff, we're going to cover it all here, is that the Eagles sort of beat the Patriots at their own game. They kind of beat them at what they do best, and that was on the offensive end. I mean, Brady just, what more could you ask out of the guy? But it's just the defensive effort really wasn't there last night, and I can say that the Eagles' defense obviously wasn't great last night either, but the one thing I will say is that really when they needed the turnovers, when they needed the stops, they did get them. And it's all about how you perform in the clutch. It's all about your performance in big moments, in big situations, in big games. And they proved that they were big enough for the moment, that they were willing to take on the greatest of all time, one of the most prolific offensive players of all time, and they got the job done, and deservingly so. All right, so we'll start off with the recap now that we kind of had a nice little introduction there. And as I said, 41-33, Eagles. This game smashed all kinds of record. It was the most offensive yards in a Super Bowl game. I'm pretty sure it was in a postseason game as well. I know watching the telecast, they put some graphics up there, and I mean, they smashed the Super Bowl record in, I think, the third quarter, and I think the postseason record went down in the middle of the fourth, so they definitely weren't short for offensive yards in this game, and those records didn't stand a chance. The total number was 1,151 total offensive yards. That beat the old Super Bowl record by, I think it was over 200 yards, so really just totally obliterated it, and it made for quite an exciting game. Now, to get into the actual recap itself, it was really, like I said, a back and forth game. There were a lot of traded shots back and forth. If you watched the game, you know that it was kind of an edge of your seat kind of game. There was even a few snafus. There was a few odd moments. There was a few injuries. There was lots going on in the game. So let's get right into the recap. Well, coming out there, the Eagles received as the Patriots won the coin toss, and they made the Eagles receive there. And coming out in the opening drive, the Eagles looked really good. They were working it down the field. Foles seemed like he had his game, which I said last week was going to be a big key. And if he was on, I said it would be tough to beat them. And really, he was on. We'll get into that as well. But it looked good early for them. And then Ertz had a false start there. I think it was the 2-yard line, pushing them back to the 7. I think it was a 2nd and goal at the time. And that really was a drive killer. And that's something you don't like to see that early in a game, because you're always worried about momentum shifting and everything. And when you drive that far down the field and you don't get 6 or 7, it's disappointing. But Elliott made good on the 25-yarder, put them up 3-0. Then Gostkowski made a 26-yarder, 3-3. And then Jeffrey hauled in a 34-yard touchdown. That was Foles' first touchdown in the game. And again, another nice throw down the field, nice deep ball, which was a big concern for Foles heading into the postseason. Then the first little snafu of the game occurred. Elliott missed the PAT. And 9-3 Eagles. At that point, Cooks went out. Some big things happened there. Brandon Cooks, their best receiver, went out of the game, and he did not return after really a vicious hit by Malcolm Jenkins. And another big play that happened too is Tom Brady missed his trick play going down the sideline there. He missed his catch. Now, and here's the thing. I mean, obviously you can't get on Tom Brady for that. I mean, he's not a wide receiver. I mean, I know that you probably should make the catch regardless of what position you're playing, but, don't get on the guy over that. He's not a receiver. That's not even what his role is on the team. I mean, should he have made the catch? Yeah, probably, but, you can't really give him too much flack there. He did more than what he needed to do last night to get in the win. It just wasn't in the cards for them. Philly opened up a 15-3 lead after a blunt touchdown, followed by a New England field goal from 45. Gostkowski made good on the field goal there. It was 15-6 Philly. Then the first turnover of the game occurred with the Foles interception, which really wasn't Nick Foles' fault at all. I mean, it was just there was some contact going down the sideline there with Jeffrey and the one of the Patriot cornerbacks, and Jeffrey kind of had his arm pinned, tried to tip the ball up almost to make the catch, and instead he tipped it right into the arms of a New England defender. James White answered with a 26-yard touchdown, making it 15-12, and then the big moment, when the first big moment of the game happened before halftime, and that was Coach Doug Peterson of the Eagles deciding to go for it on a 4th down when he could have taken points for the half. And, everybody on the broadcast, Chris Collinsworth, Al Michaels, everybody was kind of like, you kind of knew that this was going to be a big factor in this game going forward, big for momentum, big for just the points in itself. I mean, it's a big difference. Nothing and 6 points is a big difference in this kind of a game that you saw was going to be a shootout all the way. You pretty much had to score on almost every drive. And then, this is just so appropriate for what the Eagles have done, and we'll get into this later too about as a key to why they won this year. But the aggressiveness and the inventive kind of play calling was essential to their season this year, and Trey Burton actually threw a pass to Nick Foles. So second time was a charm for quarterbacks catching would-be touchdowns. Foles made good on that. He caught it, and he put them up 22-12. Of course, the PAT followed to make it 22-12. So that play put them up 21-12 in the PAT. And really, it was a really inventive play. It was aggressive. It was really what the Eagles have been about all year. And that play took them into halftime up 22-12. And you felt pretty comfortable because in the Jacksonville game with New England, I remember, Jacksonville seemed like they were just controlling that whole game, really. They seemed like they had the upper hand. But then out of nowhere, all of a sudden, it's like a 3-point game at halftime. You think to yourself, what just happened in the first half? We had them licked, and now we're only up 3 points. And that was almost what happened in the game. But luckily for the Eagles, they were able to maintain enough of a cushion that it's more than a one-possession game because the Patriots, rather, were receiving the kickoff coming out of halftime. Now, the Patriots did receive the kickoff coming out of halftime, and this was really a little concerning, I'll be honest, with how easy it was. They really shut down Gronkowski in the first half, and that was a big storyline. Gronkowski loves to run sort of a seam route, and they seem to be taking that away, and you could see that it was causing some dysfunction on the Patriot offense, but Gronk caught a 5-yard touchdown, and I think he might have caught 4 balls on the drive and really just looked almost unstoppable on that drive. And that was a little concerning just because it was so easy. And then, of course, at that point, the Patriots pulled it within 3. Then another big play, another Nick Foles touchdown to Clements, 22 yards to make it 29-19. That play was under review. It held up, and it should have held up, I'll be honest. I mean, there was definitely not enough to overturn the call made on the field, and I do think the ball was pinned. While he did change arms with it, I think the 2 feet were down and he had the ball pinned, and I think that was good enough for the touchdown. Okay, Brady answered over the top to Hogan for a 26-yard touchdown, bringing it to within 3, 29-26 Philly. Elliott with another field goal made it 32-26, and then another Gronk touchdown on sort of a fade route to the corner, and that made it 33-32 New England. So that means they had their first lead of the game, and it came late in the contest, and that's never a good sign either when you surrender your first lead of the game so late, because that really gives the other team some gusto that they feel like, we were down the whole game and now we kind of have a second life here, and that's concerning if you're an Eagles fan. We're into crunch time now. It's 33-32 New England, and the Eagles are going to get the ball back, and you kind of feel like, this is it here. If the Patriots get a stop, this is probably going to be it, and probably going to be another disappointing end to an Eagles season. Well, Nick Foles wasn't going to take that, and he led a drive down the field, capped by Zach Ertz's touchdown. And again, another little bit of a mini controversy, I guess. But again, if you look at that play, he established himself as a runner. He made a catch. 2 feet were down. Then he took 2 steps with the ball. And if you take 2 steps with the ball in your possession, at that point you have to be a runner. And so essentially what happened was, as soon as the ball breaks the plane when you're a runner, the play is over. So that bobble, I guess, in theory, really didn't even happen. So they missed that 2-point conversion, but they made 38-33. On a very dramatic drive. And then, as an Eagles fan, you're thinking to yourself, 38-33, I like where we're at, but I'll tell you what, Tom Brady has a lot of time left on the clock. We've seen what he's done. He's led game-winning drives, I think, in every Super Bowl victory that he's had. You really don't feel great, but you feel good. Now, the next play was the play of the game by Brandon Graham. He had a strip sack on Brady. And at that point, I'll tell you what, I was at home watching the game. I felt like, we got it at this point. I felt like, that's it, because that kind of stuff doesn't really happen to the Patriots late in the game. And I felt like, what, it's going to happen for us. And sure enough, Elliott put through a 46-yard field goal, making a 41-33 Philadelphia. And all they had to do was make a stop, and they did it. And that was the game, 41-33 Eagles, and a championship to the city of brotherly love. It was truly a really incredible moment, especially for me being a fan. And it's an incredible storyline for the NFL. So now that we're done with the recap, we'll kind of get into some of the outcomes and some of the buzz going on today. I mean, the way I view this was it was a win-win for the NFL because if the Patriots were to have won, you would have been talking about a sixth championship for Brady. That's unprecedented, and they would have tied the Steelers. The Patriots would have for the most Super Bowl titles in history. And being that the Eagles won, it's their first championship in history. So that's such a big storyline in itself, and that spawns a whole lot of different storylines coming out of Philadelphia and New England as well. What were some big takeaways from the game itself? Well, I got to start here, and I mean, here's the thing. Nick Foles, what more does he have to do to gain people's respect out there? What more does he have to do to make you respect him? I mean, what an incredible, incredible performance and an incredible 3-game run for him. I mean, I don't know what else to say about the guy. He won them the championship. He won it for them. The defense was a big part of it, obviously, but last night they didn't really show up as much as they should have. They did at the end, but Nick Foles got the MVP, obviously, and rightfully so. I mean, the man put up Brady-esque numbers coming in mid-season like that, late in the season, and you kind of are operating under the mindset that it's not really even your team. He even said that. I mean, that's just amazing. And I will tell you something going forward, because this is one of the big storylines here. Wentz versus Foles. Foles just won you a championship, something that hasn't been done in the history of your organization. All I'm saying is this. How about take some time and take a second look at the guy? Like, let's settle down here with this talk about we can't wait to get rid of him or we can't wait to trade him and all this. I mean, pump the brakes, okay? Because Wentz has been in the league for 2 seasons. He's had a great season this year, and I like Carson Wentz. He's a great quarterback. He seems to have all the skills necessary to really succeed in this league and really make a mark. I'd be happy with either of them. I'm a Wentz fan. I'm a Foles fan. Let's put it like that. But 2 seasons in the league. The first one was a little rocky. The second one, he excelled. He was an MVP candidate. And now you have this guy come in here, Nick Foles, and plays like unbelievable football. 971 yards, 6 touchdowns, and 1 pick, and the pick wasn't even his fault in the Super Bowl game. I mean, all the questions, all the doubters about Nick Foles. He can't throw the ball down the field. I didn't see the guy miss a throw in 2 weeks. I mean, obviously that's maybe an exaggeration, but in big moments, every throw was right on the money. The guy placed every ball right where it needed to be. I can't talk enough about the effort Foles put out last night. He went one-on-one with Tom Brady, the greatest of all time, the best ever to do this, and he beat him. He beat the Patriots at their own game last night. And of course, Peterson is a great coach. And we're gonna get into why that meant a win for them last night too. But Foles, please, I'm just saying this. I'm just saying it. Take some time to think about what you want to do here. Foles is 29. I know he's had an up and down season. They gave him a shot already, but why not give the guy a fair shake? Why not do that? Why not have a competition and see who wins? But I will say this on the flip side too. If you are totally committed to Wentz, which understandably so, if you are totally committed to him, which the Eagles seem like maybe they are, then you do have to trade this guy while the stock is high. I would not waste time. I would not wait because one of them has to go. They both can't stay there, and I would just be careful, is all I would say. Coming off an injury, you don't know, and I love what Foles did. He delivered you a championship. Nobody else ever did, and he did it, and I value what you do in the clutch and what you do in playoff situations. We haven't seen Wentz yet in the playoffs. It's not a knock on Carson Wentz. It's just the facts. Nick Foles had all-time performances in this postseason. His name is now in the legends of the NFL because he won a Super Bowl championship in an organization that had never won one. And he did it. So let's just keep our heads here a little bit, okay? Let's not wish this guy away. He won you a championship. Be grateful. Doug Peterson is the next point I want to make here. I mean, the aggressiveness of the guy, and I sat there watching the game and I said to myself, you know what? They have to go for it because this is what got them here. This is their MO all season long. They go for it on 4th down. They don't settle for field goals when they don't want to. They're aggressive. They do their gadget plays. And Doug Peterson, I'll tell you what, he got the most out of this team. And he, in my opinion, should have been the coach of the year. I mean, McVay, no disrespect out there, but I mean, the guy won 13 games and he had to go through 2 quarterback changes. I know the postseason doesn't count, but now really it makes it look like he was the best coach in football this year. I think that's fair to say because really I think he may have outcoached Belichick last night, and that's not something everybody could say. So Doug Peterson, bravo to that guy. His system really worked. I mean, going through 2 quarterbacks like that, how many teams are going to win? I mean, that was incredible. So big props to him. Revelation for the Eagles, too. Jake Elliott, 3 field goals. I know he missed an extra point, but I mean, 3 field goals in big situations, 25, 42, and 46 in that order, so getting longer as it went. Jake Elliott, aside from a practice squad, I mean, just bravo to him, too. He had such a good game, such a great season for the Eagles. That's a bright spot for them moving forward, I think. I'm sure he'll be back next year. That's really something. That's a nice story. It's a nice underdog story. And, of course, the Eagles season was an underdog story. We all know that. All right, switching over to the Patriots storylines just a little bit here. So, of course, there's the reports of Brady and Belichick and Kraft not getting along. One would think that, hey, I mean, this probably doesn't improve that situation any. If there's any validity to that situation, I'm sure a Super Bowl loss isn't going to make it any easier or lessen some of the reports coming out of there. But, you know, I think that it may be a little overblown. I think that they both probably realize that New England is their best chance to win championships right now, if they still care about winning the championships, and that's where they're probably going to stay. At some point, though, if Kraft and Belichick do keep butting heads, maybe something could come out of it. But I think for the most part, there's too much success there, too much history there that I think they'll probably stick it out. You know, I think it's more of a non-story than anything, but time will tell. Another thing I heard last night on NFL Network, they were talking about Tom Brady and where does he stand? What does this do with his legacy? I mean, it really doesn't do much for his legacy. I mean, in a negative way. I mean, it doesn't do much for him. I mean, the guy threw for, what was it here? 505 yards last night. He broke his own Super Bowl record. I mean, what more do you want the guy to do? 505 yards, 3 touchdowns. And if you're going to say the strip sack, I mean, that's as much on the offensive line as it is on him. I mean, I love how the whole game the Eagles couldn't get pressure, and then right when you need them to get pressure, they got pressure. I mean, that's got to be some kind of reflection on the offensive line. Those last 2 possessions, Brady was under duress quite a bit. That wasn't really a good look for that line. I know the New England defense, too, continues to sort of be an interesting thing for me. I mean, that's almost criminal what they do there. I mean, have such a good quarterback as Tom Brady. I mean, they finally put some receivers in the field around him. I know Cooks got hurt. That hurt them, and Edelman got hurt earlier in the year, and they had Gronkowski with the concussion and all that. But I'll tell you, it's amazing to me that the defense just isn't better up there with what's supposed to be, you know, great defensive-minded coaches, which they are, and now Matt Patricia seemingly is moving to Detroit. I'll tell you, his defense didn't do a good job last night. I mean, they looked like porous, and I don't understand why New England's defense or why New England as an organization hasn't made an effort. I mean, I know they make an effort, but it's amazing to me that they can't put a better defensive product on the field with, I mean, a quarterback like Tom Brady. I mean, you would think that would be priority number 1. Put a good defense behind him and also give the guy better receivers, which they're finally starting to do. I mean, they got to do that too. But moving forward, I think that where improvements could be made for the Eagles, obviously, they might be looking for maybe some other piece in the secondary. They have a lot of decisions to make at quarterback. And as far as the Patriots go, they have to improve their defense. They're going to have to replenish their coaching staff, too, with McDaniels and Patricia both leaving. They're going to have to replace those guys, and they're going to have to find guys that fit because it really is a system thing up there in New England. We all know that the system is very important up there, and that's key to everything that they do. Well, all right, I think that just about does it. I mean, just a great Super Bowl, truly great. Congratulations to Philadelphia. You know, I think that they deserve it. I think that the fans are dedicated, even though they get a lot of flack, and some of the things they do is obviously wrong. I mean, those things that were shown in the media, that's, you know, inexcusable, but I don't think that reflects the whole fan base. It was a great day to be an Eagles fan, great day to be a football fan, and just another good ending to a nice football season. All right, guys, we'll see you next time on Sports Talk. Until then, I'm Nicolo Manzo.